Welcome to the Madison Miller Podcast. All right, a tradition like no other. Kentucky Derby preview and predictions. The one and only Jeffrey Byrnes. How are you doing on this Thursday morning?
Doing good, Madison. It's definitely a good time of the year, and looking forward to Saturday.
Me too. It's going to be a lot of fun. So, in the field, how many horses exactly are there? 18, 19, something in that realm?
So right now we have a field of 20. The number 9 horse Encino is a scratch. So the number 21 Epic Ride has drawn into the field. The number 22 Bugatti also needs one more scratch for him to draw it by 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. So right now we have a field of 20, but I don't know, hopefully everybody gets to the gate and gets through safely.
Yes, Encino was the scratch horse. I just see that on my screen right now. So the one horse is Dornach, 15-1 odds. He was 20-1 on the morning line. Danny Gargan's the trainer. Tell us about Dornach.
So Dornach is a very interesting horse for a couple of reasons. Obviously, he draws the one post, which is not very ideal for him because he is technically a speedy horse, but he's a very precocious pedigree. He's a colt by Good Magic out of the big brown mare of Puka. Now, why his pedigree is interesting is that he is actually a full brother to last year's Kentucky Derby winner, Mage. Same mother, same father as Mage from last year's Kentucky Derby. So it would be pretty interesting to see a back-to-back Kentucky Derby winners for Good Magic and the mother Puka. But Dornach, so he's a horse coming into this race. He's 3 for 6 in his career. He has shown very good speed in his past, but his last race in the Toyota Bluegrass, he didn't come away from the gates all that well. He's going to have to get better position, especially from the one post. So wouldn't surprise me if jockey Luis Saez is on go for him right out of the gate. His career coming into this race, obviously, before the Bluegrass is very interesting. He won 3 straight races starting at Keeneland, starting on October 14th of last year. He won the Grade 2 Remsen Stakes on December 2nd, where he actually beat Sierra Leone, who we'll get to in just a second. He also won the Fountain of Butte Stakes on March 2nd at Gulfstream Park. The thing about Dornach is his speed figures technically haven't lived up to some of the other horses in the field. His win in the Remsen in particular, he won what is termed a golden rail, which basically means there were a bunch of wire-to-wire winners on the card that he ran in, and he happened to be one of them. I'm not saying he technically needs the lead in order to win the race. He could possibly sit second or third, but I do expect him to be one of the front runners in here. However, the biggest thing, he has to get away from the gate cleanly. If he doesn't get away from the gate cleanly, it's going to be very tough for him, and especially coming from the one post that hasn't won in so long. It could be a tough day for him on Saturday.
Yes, the one post usually does not win the Derby. That's a good point. I don't remember the last time I saw a horse from the one hole win the Derby. All right, the 2 is Sierra Leone, one of the interesting horses in this race. Open 3-1 on the morning line, currently 6-1. Chad Brown's the trainer. Tell us about Sierra Leone.
So Sierra Leone basically was born to be a star right from the beginning. His father, Gun Runner, was a previous Classic winner, Horse of the Year in 2017, and has already become one of the top stallions in the world. His mother, Heavenly Love, was a Grade 1 winner in her racing career, so basically a pretty significant pairing to create Sierra Leone. And he was as a yearling, as a 1-year-old, he was purchased for $2.3 billion by the racing syndicate Coolmore, which is one of the biggest, most powerful breeding and racing operations in the world. So he's basically was born to be a superstar out of the gate, and so far he's lived up to the hype. He's 3 for 4 in his career. His only loss actually was a second-place finish in the Remsen behind Dornach, where he actually passed Dornach at the stretch, but Dornach rallied along the rail to beat him that day. He was kind of green and immature that day, but he has gotten better as time has gone on. He's 2 for 2 so far this year, including a win in the Risen Star Stakes, which is significant because it came on a sloppy racetrack, and there could be some rain in the forecast on Saturday, so that could be also come into handy with the wagering. And so he rallied from off the pace that day and win. He won the Bluegrass Stakes, in which he also beat Dornach and some of the other Derby contenders in this field. My biggest concern, however, with him is in the Bluegrass Stakes, it didn't win during the race, but before the race. just as they were going into the gate, he revved up and he was acting behaved very badly going into the starting gate. And considering that there's going to be a crowd of probably 150,000 people at Churchill Downs on Saturday, and considering he's going into position number 2, he's going to be standing in the gate for a long time. So I'm a little worried about what his behavior is going to be going into the gate, how he's going to behave around the gate, and he's going to have to work out a trip from the number 2 post. He is a deep closer. He's probably going to have to get a good pace in front of him, but I think he definitely can be good enough to win this race if he does work out a good trip. His jockey Tyler Gaffalione is going to have to find a way to get off the rail and out into the clear. But certainly, I think he's got a significant chance to win this race on Saturday if he can accomplish that.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think Sierra Leone has a shot too. A horse that I don't think has as good as a chance as Sierra Leone, Mystic Dan, is the 3 horse. 27 to 1 currently, open 20 to 1. Kenny McPeak's the trainer. Tell us about Mystic Dan.
So Mystic Dan, certainly I think it's going to be one of the biggest long shots in the field. He too, like Sierra Leone, is a deep closer. The thing about him is, if the track does come up sloppy on Saturday, which there is, like I said, there is some rain possibly in the forecast, I think he could possibly move up because his race 2 back in the Southwest was on a sloppy racetrack. He got a pretty good pace in front of him to chase, and he won that race by 9 lengths. And actually, you're one of the fastest Byrnes speed figures of any horse in this field on that day. Now, coming into this, he's 2 for 6 in his career, of course, the one being the Southwest Stakes. He was 3rd in the Arkansas Derby last time out, in which he didn't really get a hot pace to chase. He finished well back behind Just Steel, who was 2nd in that race, and the winner of that race, moved for trainer Bob Baffert, actually is not entered in the Kentucky Derby. We could see him in the Preakness in 2 weeks, so that's something to keep an eye on down the road. But Mystic Dan is going to have to get a good pace to chase. But I think for him, his best odds of winning this race today, he's going to have to get a pace like he did in the Southwest. The track, I think, is going to have to come up sloppy in order for him, I think, to have the best chance to win.
All right, yeah, this rain is very interesting, as you alluded to. Catching Freedom is 9 to 1, open 8 to 1. Brad Cox is the trainer. Catching Freedom's the 4 horse. Tell us about Catching Freedom.
So Catching Freedom is a really good horse that's coming into this race in tremendous form right now. He won the Louisiana Derby in his last start at the fairgrounds, in which he beat a number of horses that are coming back to run in the Kentucky Derby. He's 3 for 5 in his career, including a win at Churchill Downs back on October 1st. Always a plus for a horse to have run and won over the Churchill Downs surface. His trainer Brad Cox is looking for his 2nd Kentucky Derby win. Jockey Flavia Pratt also looking for his 2nd Derby win. Now, this is a horse that has interesting dynamics, because much of his career, he was really much of a front runner around mid-pack towards the front runners and early leaders. But in the Louisiana Derby, he actually came from nearly dead last to win the Louisiana Derby, which he went 7 wide. He faced a significant field that day, and he would have passed every horse in that field. Now, I don't know if that could happen again in the Kentucky Derby because he's facing a significantly larger field. But he's coming into this race in tremendous form right now. His workouts look tremendous in the mornings. His trainer Brad Cox has been praising him in the mornings, and he's going to have to work out a significant trip again from the 4 post. But it would not surprise me if, given the pace scenario, that he could be up early on or right around mid-pack. I have a hard time believing that he's going to come from off the pace again. Because I don't think that's going to be technically a winning strategy for him. But he's a horse that's definitely caught the eyes in the mornings of a lot of people, and I think definitely has a significant chance of winning this race.
All right, the 5 horse is Catalytic, 40 to 1 odds. Open 30 to 1. Safi Joseph Jr. is the trainer. Ooh, a good jockey, Jose Ortiz. Tell us about Catalytic.
So Catalytic, this horse is making it only his 4th career start in the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. And the thing about him is the only reason he's even in this field is that it was his 2nd place finish in the Florida Derby, which he was well beaten behind Fierceness, who we'll get to in a little while. But this horse coming in, he's probably going to be around mid-pack. The thing about him is he has never won past the 6 furlong distance. His only career win came back in October of 2023 as a 2-year-old, and he has not won a race since. He finished second in an allowance race where he was a heavy favorite, and obviously that's never a good thing to lose an allowance race in lower level condition. He did run a good second in the Florida Derby, but again, he was well beaten behind Byrnes. And honestly, this is going to be one of the longest shots in the field, and I think it would be a very surprise if he wins on Saturday.
Yeah, I would agree that that would be a pretty big upset if he found a way. Just Steel is the 6th horse, 20-1 on the morning line, currently 33-1. Wayne Lucas is going to be is the trainer. Tell us about Just Steel.
So Just Steel is the most experienced horse in the field with 11 career starts. He's run 4 times already this year, including dating back to New Year's Day back in Oaklawn Park. He has finished second in 3 of those 4 starts, including the Smarty Jones Safe, the Southwest behind Mystic Dan, and he was second in the Arkansas Derby last time out at big odds. So this horse has been very steady, very consistent throughout his career. He's run a lot. He's in good physical condition, and seems like Wayne Lucas has him going in the right direction. Obviously, the second place finish was that he ran a career best speed figure, and it's pretty good behind Moose on that day. So he's a horse that I think is going to have to work out his good trip on the 6th post. I think he'll be hanging around mid-pack. The biggest thing with him is that he's never also a horse that has won sprinting but never has won routing. Even though he's run good going around 2 turns before, he does have a pedigree that should handle the mile and a quarter distance. I think his jockey Keith Asmussen is going to have to work out a pretty steadily trip. I think he'll come from mid-pack. He's got to find a way to get a good pace in front of him. If he does, I don't know necessarily if he can win this race, but I certainly can see him running on again. It's going to be tough for him though on Saturday.
All right, Honor Marie 7, 20-1 morning line, currently 17-1. So that's the first horse I've seen odds drop, and get shorter in the field. Whit Beckman is the trainer. Tell us about Honor Marie.
So Honor Marie comes in. He's only finished off the board once in his 5-race career. He did win the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill Downs back on November 25th of last year. He was given a couple months off. He came back in the Risen Star Stakes, where he finished 5th behind Sierra Leone and a couple of others in this field, including Catching Freedom, who was 3rd that day. So it was his first race off the layoff, so he probably needed the extra race. And in the Louisiana Derby, he was right there behind Catching Freedom, only beating 3/4 of a length. So he has gradually gotten better as the year has gone on. I think the more races he gets under his belt, I think the better he'll be. He should be hanging around mid-pack. I think Ben Curtis, his jockey, has to work out a pretty good trip from the 7 post. I think he's coming in good physical condition. His pedigree, he's my honor code, who's sire 8 Beginning with a Belmont Stakes winner, so I don't think the mile quarter should be a problem for him. His career at Churchill, he's never been worse than second in 3 starts. Like I said, he won a Grade 2 on November 25th of last year. I like him a lot. I think he's going to be a horse that's going to be there turning for home. I think he's a horse that could be in contention for at least get into the Superfecta.
Alrighty. Just a Touch is the 8 horse. Good trainer in Brad Cox. Currently 16-1, morning line 10-1. We don't know who the jockey's going to be for this horse. That's interesting. Tell us about Just a Touch.
So Just a Touch, his sire Justified was the 2018 Triple Crown winner, so very precocious pedigree on his part. He actually made his career debut at the Fairgrounds back on January 27th, which he won a 6 furlong, where he won a sprint on a sloppy racetrack. So again, with the word sloppy again, if the track comes up, if it rains and it comes up sloppy, I think this horse significantly goes up. And he won that race pretty comfortably, got a good speed figure out of that. His second start in the Gotham Stakes, he got a pretty wide trip, but he actually finished up pretty well. He finished second on that day. The Toyota Bluegrass, which was his first race around 2 turns, he had a really good trip by Florent Giroux, and he's good at turning for home. It looked like he was going to win this race, but Sierra Leone ran him down right at the end. Honestly, wasn't really much of an excuse to lose that race because he had sat the perfect trip, and you're not honestly going to get a better trip than what he got that day. So he has been coming into this race off good work. I don't know exactly if he's going to be good enough to beat this field at just his fourth career start. He does remind me a little bit of Mage in a sense because he has gradually gotten a little bit better as the racing has gone on. The mile and a quarter could be a tough trip. I think he can handle the distance. The question is, can he be good enough to, after a good trip, will he be there turning for home?
Alrighty. So, just a touch, we got to keep that one in mind. Encino scratched, as we talked about earlier. T.O. Password is the 10 horse. 60 to 1. Currently, the morning line was 30 to 1. I'm going to try to wing the trainer, Daisuke Takanagi. Tayakanagi?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
Okay. Tell us about T.O. Password.
So T.O. Password, this horse is a very significant wild card in here because he's only run 2 times in his career. The Kentucky Derby will be his 3rd career start. He has, this will be his first start, obviously, in the United States. He in his 2 races in the past, he has shown speed, so I expect him to be one of the pace setters for this race. Kazushi Kimura is going to be boarded for the very first time. He has shown in the mornings he has been working very good. He posted a very fast 4 furlong workout back on April 30th. So he's coming in this race in good physical condition. Right now, T.O. Password is a bit of a mystery, like I say. So he hasn't really run all that much. Both of his races have come in Japan, but when you look at his past races, he has shown plenty of speed. So I do expect him to be up there among the front runners. Can he get the mile and a quarter distance? It's going to be tough, even though his pedigree from Japan does show that he can. So he's a wild card, but honestly, I think it will be a very, very big upset if he wins this race.
All right, and this is a horse I'm very interested in seeing how this horse does. Forever Young, also a Japanese horse. Currently 8 to 1, opened 10 to 1 on the morning line. The trader is Yoshino Yagi. Tell us about Forever Young.
So Forever Young, this is another Japanese prospect, and this is probably the best chance of the 2 from Japan coming over. He's undefeated in his career, 5 for 5. He's won. He's 2 for 2 this year. He qualified for the Kentucky Derby by winning the UAE Derby at Meydan Racecourse in Dubai. He won that race at the mile and 3/16 distance, which is a half furlong shorter than the Kentucky Derby. It's going to be interesting to see how he's going to run because he has been known in the past for not switching leads, which if he's racing on the longer lead, you can technically go slower than some of the others. But I like what I've seen from him in the mornings. And I think the trainers obviously are feeling very confident about him. I think the mile and a quarter should be no problem. The thing about Forever Young is that he has gotten a lot of hype since coming over, and a lot of people are very interested to see obviously how he does. But we've seen some horses from Japan come over in the past, like Derma Sotogake last year, Crown Fight a couple years ago. But right now, Japan hasn't been able to break through and win this race. So obviously, I do think he has a big chance. I think he will be one of the favorites come post time. But honestly, until I see it, it's going to be very hard for me to pick the horse from Japan.
All right. Track Phantom is the 12 horse. Steve Osmussen is the trainer. 20 to 1 on the morning line, but his odds skyrocketed up to 52 to 1. Tell us about Track Phantom.
The Track Phantom, this horse coming in for Steve Asmussen, still looking for his first Kentucky Derby. This horse will 100% be among the pace setters for this race, of course, barring a good gate break. He's 3 for 7 in his career. All 3 of his wins have come wire to wire. He does have a win over the Churchill Down Surface on the November 25th, a main race that day. He also won the Gun Runner Stakes at the Fairgrounds, which went wire to wire at a mile and 16. His next race, the Grade 3 LeCompte on January 20th, he won that race going wire to wire as well. The thing about these last 2 races, the Gun Runner and LeCompte, he won them at a mile and a 16, which is a 8.5 furlongs. As the distance gradually extended, he hasn't exactly looked like he wants to go the distance. He was second in the Risen Star behind Sierra Leone, but then in the Louisiana Derby, he got to the lead. He set some pretty slow fractions up front, but then he faded the 4th, and so I do question if he does want the mile and a quarter distance, personally, I think he'd be much better in the Pat Day Mile, which is on the undercard of the Kentucky Derby on Saturday. But obviously, Steve Atherton feels confident in going in that he can probably win this race. He has looked good in the mornings. He is getting blinkers on from this race, so the blinkers should be able to help him focus and probably keep his head straight. So maybe he can settle down a little bit, maybe set some slow fractions if he does get to the lead. But I do question if he does want the mile and a quarter distance. His damn Miss Sunset was a turf sprinter, so really he wasn't really known for going out the distance. Even though his tire quality road has tired a freaking splitter in the past. So, Trash Panther, well, I do think he's going to be a significant factor because he will be among the pace setters. I do question if he wants the mile and a quarter distance, though.
All right, West Saratoga's 13. Larry Demerit is the trainer, 50-1 morning line, but dropped to 31-1 currently. Tell us about West Saratoga.
So West Saratoga, this horse is also one of the most experienced horses in the field. The Kentucky Derby will be his 11th career start. He did win the Grade 3 Iroquois back on September 16th of last year, which is actually the first Kentucky Derby points race for this year. West Saratoga, he's been pretty consistent throughout his career. After the Iroquois, he was 5th in the Grade 1 Breeders' Futurity, was put away for the rest of the year. And then he's run 3 times this year and has to finish no worse than 3rd in each of those 3 starts. He qualified for the Kentucky Derby by finishing 3rd in the Sam F. Davis on February 10th. And then he was 2nd in the Jeff Ruby Stakes on the synthetic at Turfway Park on March 23rd. Now, he's a horse that's going to be a comfort behind horse again. The connections, obviously, very feel-good connections. Purchased for only $11,000, which is really a bargain in the racing industry. And his pedigree, his sire Exaggerator was a Preakness winner. His damn sire Uncle Mo is known for siring a Belmont Stakes winner. So I think the mile and a quarter shouldn't be a problem for him. My question is, can he step up in competition and run these horses down at the end? It's going to be interesting to see what kind of trip he works out, because he has shown speed in the past, but he also has shown that he can hang around mid-pack, which I honestly think he probably will do. Turning for home, he could be among there. I could definitely see a top 10 finish for him, but it could be a tough hill to climb for him on Saturday.
Alrighty, so next up is Endisley, the 14 horse. Michael McCarthy is the trainer. 30-1 on the morning line, went up to 52-1. Tell us about Endisley.
So this horse, Endlessly, I think, is extremely talented on turf. Now, the Kentucky Derby is run on dirt, so this will be his very first career start on the dirt. He has primarily run on turf and synthetic throughout his career. The first 4 career starts, all as a 2-year-old, all came on grass. And he went 3 for 4, including 2 Grade 3 wins. He was 8th in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf at Santa Anita. And then this year, he's run 2 times this year, both on a synthetic. He won the El Camino Real Derby at Golden Gate in California. And then he went to Turfway Park and he won the Jeff Ruby Stakes, where he won going away and beat a horse like West Saratoga. So, obviously, he qualified for the Kentucky Derby on this race, but his pedigree just screams turf throughout. His sire, Oscar Performance, was a multiple Grade 1 winner on turf. His dad was also a winner on turf. So, I mean, this horse, obviously, they had their choices about whether to run in this race or not. His trainer, Michael McCarthy, for a number of weeks has been very iffy about why he's running the Derby, but the owners wanted to go, so he is entered in this race. I mean, I think he would have been much rather off running in the American turf on the undercard of the Kentucky Derby. But, we've seen stranger things in the past. Obviously, the Jeff Ruby Stakes has produced the last 2 has produced a Kentucky Derby winner in Rich Strike in the past 2 years. Although he didn't win the race, he was 3rd that day, but they came back to win the Derby. And last year, the Derby runner-up 2 Phils won the Jeff Ruby Stakes. So this horse, the race the past couple of years has been significant for the Derby. But I'll be very interested to see how he runs. But if he doesn't win the Derby Saturday, most likely he'll be heading back to turf.
Alrighty, next up is 15, Domestic Product. Chad Brown's the trainer. Opened at 30-1, went up to 35-1. So tell us about Domestic Product.
But Domestic Product for Chad Brown, Irad Ortiz, one of the best riders in the country, is going to be aboard him. He's 2 for 5 in his career. The Kentucky Derby will be his 6th career start. His sire, Practical Joke, although he was fifth in the Kentucky Derby in 2017, really has been known more as a sprinter slash miler, and he has passed that on to his offspring. Domestic product, though, has really outrun his pedigree for the most part. He won a main special weight back on October 27th, going a mile and an eighth, around 2 turns at Aqueduct. He ran in the Remington Stakes, but he was a pretty disappointing seventh behind Dornoch and Sierra Leone. As a 3-year-old, he really has come on and really blossomed as a 3-year-old. He was second in the Holy Bull Stakes back on February 3rd, where he actually finished in front of Fierceness, who we'll get to in a little bit. And then in the Tampa Bay Derby on March 9th, he driving finish, won a 4-horse photo in which he beat a couple of nice horses in there, including Grand Mo the First. We'll get to in a bit. So, and he has not run since then, though. And horses coming off a long layoff, especially dating back to March 9th. And I probably would have preferred him to at least run one more time before the Kentucky Derby. But, obviously Chad Brown knows his horse best. He has been working very well in the mornings. He's coming off of a pretty significant workout at Churchill on April 27th. I run tease is probably going to keep him in the mid-pack, and I think he's going to try to keep it. Doesn't want to get to the inside and he has to avoid the rail. But he's a horse that I think turning for home. Can he be up there with the leaders? It's going to be a good question. I think ultimately, though, I think his pedigree will ultimately catch up with him. I could definitely see him more as like a miler as his career goes on, but I think he could be an also-ran on Saturday.
All right, next up, 16, Grand Mo the First. One of my favorite horse names of the Derby. 50-1 on the morning line, went up to 61-1. Victor Barboza Jr. is the trainer. Tell us about Grand Mo the First.
So Grand Mo the First has been pretty steady in his so far 6-race career. He won his first 2 starts at Gulfstream Park in the summer of 2023. But then he has finished third in 4 straight races. Excuse me. In 4 straight races, including the Tampa Bay Derby, where he just lost to domestic product. He only lost the race by a head. He almost won that race. And then he was a well beaten third in the Florida Derby behind Fierceness and Catalytic. So obviously he's going to be one of these horses that's going to need pace to chase. He's going to need fairly significant horses to not run their best races on Saturday, but obviously Victor Barboza Jr. This will be his first Kentucky Derby runner, so for the connections, this is certainly going to be a very proud moment for them. Grand Mo the First is going to have a pretty significant pace to run into, which he could get on Saturday. I could definitely see him running amongst the leaders at the end, but it's going to be very tough for him.
All right, next up is Fierceness, the 17 horse, one of the contenders to win this race, and I would say one of the huge contenders. 5-2 on the morning line, currently an 8-5 favorite. One of the best trainers, if not the very best trainer in the business, Todd Pletcher, trains this horse. Tell us about Fierceness.
So Fierceness, this horse to me is such a wild card because he's been very inconsistent throughout his career. Yes, he is 3 for 5 in his career. Yes, he did win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile last year. He is the reigning 2-year-old champion. And he's coming off of a 13-length win in the Florida Derby, which he beat the likes of Grand Mo the First and Cadillac. But this horse is basically feast or famine. His first career race, he won by 10 lengths at Saratoga on a sloppy racetrack. So, again, something to keep in mind for Saturday. But then the Grade 1 Champagne Stakes, his very next start, he finished up the track. He finished last in that race. Obviously, then he came back to win the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, where, again, he won by open lengths, and it looked like maybe he started to turn things around. But then in his 3-year-old debut in the Holy Bull, he ran a very poor race. He finished third that day. He was 1-9, and honestly, the field that he faced that day, he should have won by open lengths. So, and then obviously the Florida Derby, which he got to the lead from an outside post, and just basically ran off the screen. It was like, okay, here's the real Fierceness. Everybody can calm down and he's back in good form. The question is going to be, which race are we going to get from him on Saturday? The one that we saw at the Florida Derby, or the one that we've seen in races like the Holy Bull and Champagne in the past? Now he is coming into this race in good form. He did post a very good workout over the Churchill Down Surface a couple of days ago, So obviously from post 17, he's going to have to work out a trip from the outside. I think here John Velasquez will be on go for him right from the gate. If he's not in the lead, I think he'll probably be second or third going into the backstretch and maybe into the far turn. I think the mile and a quarter shouldn't be a problem from him. His pedigree suggested it shouldn't be a problem. So if he runs back to his Florida Derby, I think everybody else will be running for second because I think he is that good, but he is very inconsistent. So certainly a wild card on Saturday is Fierceness.
Absolutely. All right, 18 Stronghold. Phil D'Amato's the trainer, 20-1 on the morning line. Currently jumped all the way up to 41-1. Tell us about Stronghold.
Stronghold is he's actually been a very consistent, steady horse throughout his career. The Kentucky Derby will be his 7th career start, and he has finished no worse than second in each of his 6 starts. He does have a win over the Churchill Surface. He won a main special weight on October 1st of last year. He did finish second in 2 stakes races in California, the Grade 3 Bob Hope and the Grade 2 Los Alamitos Futurity. He is 2 for 2 this year. He won the Grade 3 Sunland Park Derby on February 18th, and then a pretty big battle with the Bob Baffert trained Imagination. He won a stretch battle and won by a head in the San Antonio Derby, Grade 1, in which the speed figures didn't really come back all that quick. So that's probably the reason why he's probably 41-1 right now, as he said. But he's a very steady horse, very consistent horse. He has been shown great energy and looks really good in his gallops. Can he win this race? I think he can if he gets the race pace set up. I don't think right now he's fast enough to be among the leaders in the pass among the leaders. He's going to have to get a good trip, especially for post 18. His jockey Antonio Fezu is going to have to take him back. He's going to have to work out a significant trip. But can he win this race? He could, but he's going to have to overcome post 18, and that's really difficult to do.
All right, next up is Resilience, the 19 horse. Opened 20-1 on the morning line, currently 28-1. Bill Mott's the trainer. Tell us about Resilience.
So Resilience, this is a horse who has gradually gotten better the more racing he has done, and right now he's in very good form. It did take him 4 tries to break his maiden, which he did on New Year's Day of this year, winning a maiden special weight at Gulfstream Park. He did come back, and he basically got thrown into the water really quick by trainer Bill Mott. He was 4th in the Grade 2 Risen Star behind the likes of Sierra Leone, Track Phantom, and Catching Freedom. Honor Marie was also 5th in that race, so you got the top 5 finishers of the Risen Star all coming back in the Kentucky Derby this year. So that's a pretty significant prep race. And he came out of the Risen Star, and he came back to win the Wood Memorial at Aqueduct, the Grade 2 Wood Memorial, in which he was pressing on the lead, so he could be among the pace setters come Saturday. From post 19, he's going to have to again work out a good trip from the outside post. So he won the Wood Memorial, where he broke from the inside, got a rail ride, and he actually coasted to victory that day. He did get the Churchill announced pretty early, right after that race. He's showing good energy and worked out very well. His jockey Junior Alvarado has worked with Bill Mott plenty of times in the past, so he's a very underrated, very good rider. I think he could ride a good race on Saturday. So Resilience, I know the posted hurts, but if he can work out a trip, I think he's a contender on Saturday.
All right, 20 is Society Man. One of the longer shots on the board, 50-1 morning line, 68-1 currently. Danny Gargan is the trainer. Tell us about Society Man.
So Society Man is another one who it took him a little while to really get going. He actually ran in a stakes race at Grade 3 Wither Stakes while he was still a maiden, and he finished up before it didn't really run well that day. He actually broke his maiden on March 9th of this year. So just a couple of months ago, he won his first race in a maiden special weight. And then at 99-1, he came back to finish second in the Wood Memorial behind Resilience. So ran a career best race that day, and that got him the points to qualify for the Kentucky Derby. And there's a pretty good chance he could be one of the longest, if not the longest shot on the field. Obviously, his trainer Danny Gargan also has Dornock in this field, so Danny Gargan has horses in post 1 and post 20, so just his luck. But this horse, he has looked good in the mornings. He has looked like he's been training well with the Churchill Surface. He is another deep closer, so he's going to have to work. his jockey Frankie Dettori is gonna have to try get over from post position 20, and he's gonna be one of the longest shots in the field. Obviously, anything can happen, but I'll be very surprised if he wins his race on Saturday.
Yeah, I would be surprised too. 21, the last horse in this race is Epic Ride, or the last race right now, we should say, in case somebody scratches. So right now, Epic Ride's the last horse in this race, 21. 30-1 on the morning line, up to 61-1. John Ennis is the trainer. Tell us about Epic Ride.
So Epic Ride, I think the fact that he's now in this race actually could be significant for him. I think he's got a pretty good chance of at least hitting it into the board. This will be his sixth career start come Saturday in the Derby. He's never finished worse than third in his career. His first four starts all came on the synthetic at Turfway Park, in which he actually won the Latonia Stakes at Turfway Park back on February 2nd. He was second in the Battaglia Memorial behind Encino, who unfortunately scratched from the Kentucky Derby. He made his dirt debut in the Toyota Bluegrass Stakes and actually ran a really good race that day, finishing behind Sierra Leone and just a touch. So I think he has been showing good energy in the mornings. His workouts have been very good. John Ennis is really, really confident going into this race that he's going to run a big race. I think he can. Is that going to be enough for him to win the race? I'm not sure, but obviously he does have a good closing kick, so he's going to be one of these horses that needs a fast pace. But I think this horse could definitely get into the top 6, maybe in the top 7 if it works out the right trip.
All right, and just in case, tell us about Magadu, who's right now the 22 horse. We don't know if we'll see him Saturday or not. Most likely not. 30-1 on the morning line, 85-1 to win the race. Jeff Engler is the trainer. Tell us quickly about Magadu.
Well, if we thought Rich Strike was the biggest upset we've ever seen a couple years ago, Magadu would make that an even bigger upset. This horse has won once in 12 career starts. He has not hit the board in 3 straight starts, including 3 stakes races. He does have enough points to where he could get into the Derby. That's why he's on the also eligible list right now. Pretty largely inconsistent career. He only has the one career win came back on November 18th at Gulfstream Park. This is a horse that is absolutely going to be relying on pace to chase into. His speed figures haven't exactly lived up to subpar. So if this horse wins on Saturday, it would be an even larger upset than Rich Strike was a couple years ago.
All right, let's get into our favorite part, win, place, show. All right, I'm going to let you go first. Give me your winner pick.
So for my winner, I'm going to go with number 4, Catching Freedom. I just think he's coming into this race in tremendous form right now. His win in the Louisiana Derby showed a new dimension coming from off the pace. He has shown in the past that he can be on the lead or it could be just off of it, but his last one in the Louisiana Derby showed that he can win in any type of way. His pedigree, I think, screams 1.25 miles. I really like his chances going in. He's trained significantly well. So I'll take Catching Freedom on Saturday.
All right. I had a very, not a hard time, but there's a couple that just stand out to me, and I'm going to go with Sierra Leone. I know Sierra Leone's in the 2 spot, but Sierra Leone has, I think, if I'm not mistaken, 3 wins and in the second place, right?
Yeah, he has 3 wins and 1 second place finish in 4 career starts.
Yes, and I think that this horse has a lot of potential, and I really think that Chad Brown's a good trainer, and I'm going to go with Sierra Leone. Although, do I feel great about it? No, because I like this field a lot, and I think a lot of these horses are talented, but I'm going to go with Sierra Leone. Who is your place pick?
Well, my place pick actually is Sierra Leone. I do think he's gonna have to work out a trip from the inside post 2. The last time the Saddlecloth number 2 actually won the Kentucky Derby, you have to go all the way back to Affirmed in 1978. So a little bit of history is against him, but I think this horse has so much talent and he could possibly overcome it. I'm just a little bit worried about the trip he could get from the inside, but he definitely has the talent and is good enough to win this race. But I think he'll come. I think he'll be my place down on Saturday.
All right, my place pick might surprise you, but I'm gonna say Forever Young. I think Forever Young has a chance to make some history here. He's undefeated. I know you say like you need to wait and see until a Japanese horse wins, but I think we might get a place here with Forever Young. So I'm gonna go with Forever Young for the place. How about your show pick?
My show pick, I'll go with number 7, Honor Marie. I think Honor Marie, he's always run well at Churchill Downs. He's, I think, his third race of the year. I think it could be his coming in his race in really good form. His run on the Louisiana Derby was very good, and I think his jockey Ben Curtis knows him really well. So I'll take Honor Marie to finish third.
I'm gonna go Fierceness for third. Like you said, Fierceness is inconsistent. And I just feel like the third feels right for Fierceness and Todd Pletcher. And I think we'll see Fierceness in 2 weeks from now in Baltimore and in the Belmont as well. So I'm going to say Fierceness third. All right, quickly before we go, give me an undercard horse that you're interested in.
So the Derby undercard, I think there's a lot of really good races on this undercard. Looking at the Derby City Distaff, it's the grade 1 $1 million going 7 furlongs. The number 10 Fava is for trainer Cherie DeVoe, jockey Irad Ortiz. She's making her second start of the year, coming off of a second place finish in the grade 1 Madison last time out. I think she's gonna, even though from the outside pose, I think she has enough speed where she can win this race. I really like her a lot. She has a lot of talent, so I think Fava can win the Derby City Distaff. And then a race like the Turf Classic, race 11, the race right before the Kentucky Derby. You got a horse like Naval Power for trainer Charlie Appleby. Horse ships in from overseas. He's 7-2 in the morning line. I think he could go off the favorite, so I think he's coming off a second place run last time out of Keeneland. But also the number 6 horse, I'm Very Busy. I think he'll ultimately be my pick in that race. I'm Very Busy was a winner last time in the Byrnes Memorial at the Fairgrounds. He was second at the Pegasus World Cup Turf at Gulfstream Park. He's coming in this race in very good form for trainer Chad Brown, so I'll take I'm Very Busy in the Turf Classic.
All right, and one quick thing before we go: do the Knicks close out tonight, or do we get a Game 7?
It's obviously that loss the other night was brutal for the Knicks, but it's going to be interesting to see because who on the Knicks is really going to step up other than Jalen Brunson? I think Josh Hart needs to have a big game in a lot of ways. If Josh Hart could go for 20 and 10 tonight, which I think ultimately he's capable of doing, I think the Knicks can close it out.
I think the Knicks close out too. And the big reason why I say that, despite that terrible loss in Game 5, I've just seen Philadelphia melt down at home too many times in spots like this. They were up 3-2 against the Celtics last year, and what happens in the fourth quarter? James Harden and Joel Embiid, I get it, Harden's not there this time, but Embiid melts down. Tatum, after having a terrible first 3 quarters, gets hot in the fourth quarter, and then they get blown out in Game 7. So I've seen the Sixers melt down in spots like this. Game 6 against the Heat 2 years ago at home. So I just feel like it's a bad omen kind of thing for Philly. So I'm going to say Knicks close out tonight, but do I feel great about it? No, but it's just more of an anti-Philly thing, and the idea that Maxey looked injured at the end of the game the other night as well. So keep an eye on that as well.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Yeah, Philly has not had the greatest playoff record at home, and Joel Embiid just has not looked right this series at all. I think he's very hurt, or I think the injuries have really started to pile up on him. Tyrese Maxey though has stepped up in a big way. He was big in that game the other night, and so Joel Embiid needs to have the biggest game of his life, I think, in order to take the Game 7. But ultimately, I do think the Knicks can close it out. I think Jalen Brunson's going to have a big game. I think the biggest player to watch, though, is going to be Josh Hart for the Knicks. And as far as the Sixers go, I know Embiid and Max are there, but who on that team's going to step up? Like Kelly Oubre? Is it going to be Kyle Lowry? But somebody, obviously, other than those two, needs to step up for Philly in order to get it to a Game 7.
Yep, exactly. So it should be a fun game tonight. And when you come on in a couple weeks, hopefully to do the Preakness, we'll catch up more with the other topics with the NFL draft and whatnot. So good to have you on as always, and we'll have you on in 2 weeks for Preakness.
Okay, thank you, man. It's always good to talk to you.
Absolutely.